Hello everyone. Welcome to our channel. Do you like fairy tales? Do you want to hear something interesting? Let's listen to today's story. Once upon a time, there lived a poor woodcutter. He was so poor that he didn't even have enough money to buy proper shoes for himself, so he had to go about barefoot. The woodcutter had a son and a daughter. The daughter was very pretty and her skin was as white as snow. The parents named her Snow White. The poor man earned his living by chopping wood in the forest and selling it in the market. But one day the king came into the market and bought all the wood. This made the woodcutter very upset because he had to feed his family and he didn't have any money left. One day, while the woodcutter was cutting wood in the forest, he saw a golden bird sitting on a tree. The bird was so beautiful that its feathers sparkled like gold coins. The woodcutter thought this must be some magical bird. So he ran towards it and tried to catch it, but the bird flew away before the woodcutter could touch it. The woodcutter chased the bird for quite some time, but he couldn't catch it. So he sat down under a tree and started crying. At that time, the bird landed on the same tree and spoke to the woodcutter in a beautiful voice. "Why are you crying, Mr. Woodcutter?" she asked. The woodcutter told the bird everything about how he was poor, and how he had to work hard every day just to put food on the table for his children. The bird listened patiently and then said, "Don't worry, I can help you become rich. In return, you will have to do one thing for me." The woodcutter said, "Ask me anything, and I will do it." The bird said, "I want you to bring me some water from the well in the village." The woodcutter went to the well and filled up a small pitcher with water and brought it back to the bird. The bird dipped one of her feathers into the water and sprinkled it on the ground. Suddenly, beautiful flowers started growing everywhere. The bird said, "You can sell these flowers in the market and become rich." The woodcutter thanked the bird and went to the market to sell the flowers. He sold all the flowers for a lot of money. The woodcutter was overjoyed and immediately went to the bird and told her that she had helped him become rich. The bird said, "Good. Now, give me my reward." The woodcutter said, "What do you want?" The bird said, "I want your daughter to be my servant." The woodcutter was shocked, but he had promised the bird, so he couldn't go back on his words. He said, "Okay, my daughter will serve you." The bird took the woodcutter's daughter to her nest and made her clean her feathers and do other household work. Every day the bird would say to Snow White, "You are very pretty, and if I had a daughter, I would want her to look like you." Hearing this every day, Snow White started feeling sad. One day she couldn't take it anymore and asked the bird, "Why are you saying this every day? Do you want me to be your servant forever?" The bird said, "You are right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. In fact, I want you to be my daughter. Will you be my daughter?" Snow White was very happy and hugged the bird. She said, "Yes, I will be your daughter." The bird was very happy and told Snow White, "Now I'm going to take you to my palace. There you will live like a princess." The bird took Snow White to her palace, where there were 7 little tables and 7 little chairs. The bird said, "These are for you and your 7 friends. You can invite your friends and have fun here." Snow White was very happy and thanked the bird. The bird said, "Now let me make you beautiful clothes so you can look like a real princess." The bird took Snow White to her wardrobe, which had all kinds of beautiful clothes. Snow White picked out a beautiful red dress, and the bird made her a golden crown. Snow White was looking like a real-life princess. The bird said, "Now I am going to take you to the king's palace. Maybe the king will marry you." Snow White said, "Thank you, mother." When they arrived at the palace, the king was out hunting, so Snow White waited for him in the garden. After some time, the king came back and saw Snow White. He was immediately mesmerized by her beauty and asked her, "Who are you?" Snow White replied, "I am Snow White and I am the daughter of a poor wood." The king was moved by her simple and honest nature and asked her, "Would you like to become my queen?" Snow White was shocked, but she agreed. On the day of the wedding, the bird came to the palace and was very happy to see Snow White become the queen. The bird attended the wedding ceremony and ate delicious food and drank sweet wine. After the ceremony, the bird went to Snow White's room and said, "Now give me my reward." Snow White was confused and asked, "What do you want?" The bird said, "You promised me that I could ask for anything I wanted." Snow White said, "Yes, but can't I ask for your help? I need your help to get rid of the queen." The bird was very angry and said, "You promised me to be my daughter, but you are trying to get rid of me. I will not leave this kingdom alive." The bird took Snow White to the top of the palace and said, "Get out of here." Snow White begged the bird for forgiveness and promised to give her anything she wanted. But the bird was in no mood to listen. She took Snow White to the forest and left her there. Snow White was very scared, but then she thought, "What will I get from being scared? I should do something to save myself." So she started walking in the forest, and after some time she saw a small cottage. Snow White knocked on the door and a beautiful woman opened it. The woman was very kind and invited Snow White inside. When Snow White told the woman about what had happened, she said, "Don't worry, my dear child. You can stay here. No one will hurt you here." Snow White thanked the woman and spent the night there. In the morning, the woman said, "Let me take you to my friend. She will help you." The woman took Snow White to another cottage and said, "My friend, please help this girl." The woman inside the cottage said, "Of course," and gave Snow White some food and clothes. She also told her, "You can stay here as long as you want." Snow White thanked the woman and said, "You don't know how much I needed this help." After some time, Snow White started feeling bored, staying at home, so she went for a walk in the garden. There she saw a beautiful flower and bent down to smell it. At that moment, a bee stung her finger. Snow White cried out in pain, and a young man came running towards her. He asked, "Are you okay?" Snow White said, "Yes, I'm fine." The young man helped her and asked, "Can I take you home?" Snow White agreed, and the young man took her to his home. When Snow White told the young man's mother about what had happened, she said, "Don't worry, my dear child. You can stay here, and we will find a way to get rid of the evil bird." Snow White thanked the woman and stayed at their home. After some days, the young man's father came to Snow White and asked, "Will you marry my son?" Snow White was very happy and said, "Yes, I will marry him." On the day of the wedding, the young man's mother took Snow White to her wardrobe and said, "Here, wear these beautiful clothes." Snow White looked beautiful in the red dress. The young man was very happy to see Snow White as his bride. After the wedding, Snow White and the young man went to live in the cottage. They were very happy together. And the evil bird never came back. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss any new stories.